There we go. Hi, this is Kathy L. Murphy, the Public Queen, and I'm live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law, with Lovelace Cook. And Lovelace is not home. Lovelace, tell everybody where you are.
Well, I'm in a motel room in Noonan, Georgia, where I'm working as a public information officer for the Office of Disaster Assistance. And I have a very early event in the morning I have to go and help set up for. So I'm excited to be here. Oh, it's wonderful to see you, Andrew. Wonderful to see Nancy and Kathy's smiling face, both Kathy's smiling face, and Tracy.
Yay! I'm so glad so many people can be here tonight. It almost seems like Girlfriend Weekend was a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, hopefully some more are going to be jumping on, but we're here tonight. And as we know that you've been working on this disaster relief thing and everything, but I want you to know, you can't see it, but I got to show you. I've got on your pants you sent me and my little shoes and my I don't know what you call a kurta, the long like captain mid-length thing. And I was going to wear my full Bollywood outfit, but it's cold here. Is it cold there, Tracy?
Yes.
Oh, here's Laura Bernhardt.
50 something.
Well, I've got the fireplace going and I've got the heater on, and the new Bollywood outfit I'm going to wear when I go see Angie next time is a little breezy. So I wore this instead, and I'm feeling quite comfortable with my warm coffee. And Lovelace, we're so excited you're here to show everybody what your book is. I have a manuscript, but I don't have the finished copy. So I've got your little postcard, Meet Me in Mumbai. And before we begin, yay, there it is with the stamp. Thank you.
This is the cover. I sent you a big copy of it so you'd have it. But
it's fine. We've got this. But I just wanted to tell everybody a little bit about you because we've known each other for a really long time. I mean, we just finally met. How long ago? Was it a couple of years ago?
No, I mean in person or when we first met? Because I found a post that where we had communicated when you were Kathy Patrick.
That's right. So that was over 10 years ago. And I know I knew you for years before that, because when I had Beauty in the Book is when I met you. But I want to tell a little bit about you because you've really done a lot. And I want to read this off. It's really tiny print, but I'm going to read it. Lovelace Cook is a storyteller, writer, and podcaster who lives in Fairhope, Alabama. She worked in New York City for magazine publishing and television. She worked on feature films in LA while attending the production and screenwriting classes at UCLA and the American Film Institute. She traveled through and lived in India, Southeast Asia, and the UK from 2013 to 2016. The books, authors, and films she discovered influenced her podcast, Bollywood&Books. And if you have not seen Bollywood&Books, they are so beautiful. In your voice, I mean, your voice is so beautiful. Everybody should hire you to read their books out loud because it's such
I agree with that.
I'm serious. Let me get Julia Daly in. Okay, let me get Julia. Okay. And her misadventures on the road, traveling like a 20-year-old on a gap year. Meet Me in Mumbai, the novel she's revisiting. What can possibly go wrong when Jessie asks the universe to get her out of her rut in her life has become? Meet Me in Mumbai chronicles the unexpected journey of a sophisticated American woman who longs to escape small town life. She falls in love with an Englishman who loves wild camping, and he dares her to meet him in Mumbai. Knit yourself a seatbelt for the misadventures of the couple who travel on a shoestring through India and Southeast Asia like 20-year-olds with a gap year. Set in India, Cornwall, Southeast Asia. Over 3 years, the novel recounts the ways in which Jessie's experiences change her worldview. Well, for anybody that's ever wanted to travel to India, they need to read this book. And the first thing I'm going to do when I go, because I've been invited by Anju's mother, Lolita, to come, and I'm planning on it, is I know I probably will never have this experience, but I'm going to get that medication for bed bugs. That's the only thing I'm going to say about your book is the medication for bed bugs. Because if there is a bug within 100 miles of me, it finds me. I am just like, I don't know, sugar to a diabetic. I don't know what it is, but
Get a silk
I,
sleeping bag. Get a silk,
huh?
get a silk sleeping bag, or like a silk liner of a
Yeah, they
bag.
make
Really?
silk liners that you can use.
Because it was accidental that the bed bugs got on me, but that was on the train. So
Yeah, we'll be talking. We'll be talking. But tonight we're talking about your wonderful book. It has a fabulous orange cover. I even got me an orange coffee mug to celebrate. The one thing about India, it's all about color. And I love the cover of your book. So let's have a little backstory on how this process all began. You traveled there, but did you ever think that you would write a book about this?
no, I didn't set out to write a book. I actually, this kind of came, I discovered back in 2002 that I had a brain tumor. And by 2012, I'd had 10 years of MRIs. It hadn't grown. I hadn't had to have surgery. So I was living in Fairhope. Everything was very smooth and boring. And I wondered, I was an adventurer, and I've done a lot of things on my own since I was in my 30s. So I just started to feel like I was going to be absolutely squashed in Fairhope if I didn't get out and do something. So for my 62nd birthday, instead of blowing out a candle and making a wish, I implored the gods, talked to the universe, and said, just help me get out of my comfort zone. Well, I've learned that you really need to be pretty careful when you implore the gods or ask the gods to help you do something. Just get specific. So that was just a tiny bit of the backstory. And what happened was the universe sent me a very quirky Englishman, my complete opposite. And that's as much as I'm going to talk about that, because I have changed all the names and a lot of places in the story, mainly because sometimes I want to err on the side of caution.
Well, I just want to tell everybody after reading the book, the only thing I have to say, it wasn't really necessarily India that was the problem with the trip. The India is a fascinating country. It's the cultures, the people, the celebrations, the extremes from the mountains to the high desert to, the cities of Delhi and Mumbai. I am living it through your Bollywood and books, and I'm meeting so many wonderful Indians from there. Al Kajashi is the one I've been talking to the most lately because I'm reading all of her books. And what you have started is just beautiful, Lovelace. I can't commend your Bollywood books enough, or your book. It's quite the story, and it's also one that I think women of our age need to hear, because we tend to get very comfortable in these ruts. And COVID has kept me inside for way too long. I'm like a caged tiger right now. I'm raring to get out of here. In fact, I got a tiger right behind me. I don't know if you can see my little cat. But anyway, I am so ready. But this story was a process you've been working on. I've kind of been with you a little bit on the last part of the trail, keeping up with you on everything. So how long did this book take you to formulate from the experience to fictionalize?
Well, for one thing, I didn't intend to write about, and then things got kind of dramatic in Cornwall, it was dramatic in India. And by the way, I just want to let you all know, asked a young Indian friend who is a writer to read the manuscript and tell me, because I had a great conversation with Anju. It's been probably 2 years now, Anju, but you were talking about where things would offend Indian people. And I thought,
Absolutely.
I do not want to, in my ignorance, trespass or hurt anyone's feelings. So I got some really good feedback from this young lady, and I'm hoping that at least one. She's only been in the U.S. for 5 years, and she was did a lot of writing in India, and she's doing some amazing things in the States with her husband, but she can't work in the States. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I had because I hadn't really asked any of my Indian friends to read it.
Can I just add to that, Lovelace?
Yay.
I'm sure you didn't intentionally, mean to offend anyone. But what happens when you cross cultures is things sometimes get lost in translation, even though we don't intend for them to. So even in my own writing, when I'm writing about something, I've got to be very careful how I portray it to the reader, who could be from a different continent, so they take it in the right spirit.
A good point. And before I even sent it to this young lady to read and to critique, I went back through the manuscript a couple of times, and where I felt like there was something that was negative that didn't need to be said, I took it out, because I don't need to do this. I want to be gentle, be careful.
And I appreciate what you've said, Lovelace, and I'm sure many of the Indian readers out there will appreciate that too. So thank you.
They're still going to get irritated with me because I'm just dipped my little toe in, so to speak.
Lovelace and Anju, the thing about other people in other cultures is the only way we are going to be able to, build these bridges is to have that conversation. So that's why this is so important, to talk to people who actually live there, who experienced it, who've been there. I have never been to India, but I have literally watched probably some documentary, read some book, whether fiction or nonfiction. I'm reading a lot of history right now, and watched a lot of films to kind of just get it. But I even notice on the conversations that I have on the Pulpwood Queen channel, when we discuss, people misconstrue even what people that are coming on to my my Zoom meetings are saying. And I want anybody that's listening, if you're from India, to understand we're just trying to understand, just like you want to come here and understand how America is. We get stereotyped, other countries get stereotyped, but if we have these conversations, we can kind of figure it out. And whenever I'm in doubt, I always ask Anju, is this okay? Is it all right for me to wear, what I wear? I mean, I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear anyway. I'm so crazy. I like to put my own spin on it, but I love ethnic clothing from all over the world. I've collected it my whole life. And to me, it's the colors, it's the fashions, and, but I'm trying to learn more about, protocol. We all need to be diplomats in a way of, for representing when we go somewhere. I want to represent the best I can of America. And I've already been told I'm loud, and it's because probably I can't hear too many concerts when I was a young kid, but I do understand that, Lovelace. But I found your story fascinating. And did you get to read it at all? I didn't know.
Not yet. No, I'm waiting for Lovelace's story to hit the shelves. But, I will say this, Kathy, I do appreciate what you and Lovelace do for the Indian community, because myself, having grown up in Hong Kong, in a school with over 36 nationalities, I always found that I had to hide behind my own skin, because Indian girls didn't have the representation back then that we have now. We had no recognition. So for someone like Lovelace to come up and write a book about her experience in Mumbai, for someone like you to come up and say you love the clothing, you treasure, the jutis and the kurtis and the fashion, and for Lovelace to be able to say this is what she experienced. I think it's being able to put our skin on the forefront and what we women go through, and also men and the people of our country. It's a recognition and validation. So thank you to both of you.
Well, that's why I picked Lovelace's story, because it helps me have a better understanding. She experienced it with fresh eyes. She went over there totally unprepared. How unprepared were you, and how prepared were you,
Well,
Lovelace?
for one thing, you can read something and not know anything about it. And for some reason, I just had this picture in my mind that isn't the contrast of that all of India's contrasts. I had one picture in my mind, and it was kind of like a Gandhi kind of picture. And so I'm thinking, I'm not really a great camper. And what do I need? What kind of pill, do I need? What do I need this for an upset stomach? Do I need this for something else? And so trying to prepare, thought, okay, I need iodine tablets in case I need to drink water. I won't go into all the details, but I went to a camping store and made sure I was fully prepared to deal with whatever I encountered, except for the fact that in the real life story, where the names have all been changed, I had no idea I'd be going from Fairhope one week, and 10 days later, I'd be living in a treehouse on a beach in India with no running water and a naked light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Now, you can really see I'm a kind of an outdoorsy, real rough it kind of person. Now, I love hiking, but I like to be comfortable too. And when your traveling partner has an internal radiator that would like to live in the Sahara Desert, and you're with a 63-year-old woman who wants to be cool in the heat and humidity, fish out of water story for sure. Like I said, I had written today, I started out, I thought, let me just fictionalize this. I'm going to write it in third person, and I did, and it just didn't work for me. So I changed it back to first person, then I just changed all the names, because I don't really want to identify anyone, including myself, unless someone asks. But that's, Kathy, I was just thinking about the colors, the vibrancy, experiencing the degree of color was a beautiful, phenomenal experience. Everything is the senses. Well, anyone who's traveled in India knows that. And just so people know, it's not just about travels in India. The book is written in 4 parts. The first part is about India and a complete neophyte entering a country that she doesn't understand. And then the second part is about some things that happened in Cornwall which made a 1-month walking tour of Cornwall turn into a 3-month odyssey and orthopedic surgery. So I'll just say I got to see Cornwall by Royal Navy helicopter. And I don't think too many folks my age can say that.
That's just great. This whole experience reminds me of becoming a mother. If you just go in, it's on the job training. And that's kind of the way going to other countries is like. You read about it. The biggest shocker to me whenever I go anywhere is the technology when I get to these places. I don't know why, but I remember watching a Bible study with Adam Hamilton in his church in Kansas City. And he went to the Holy Land with a group of, Methodists. And I thought, there's freeways And the Holy Land, I don't know, I just pictured everybody still on a donkey, and it's so funny to me because I see these places, and that's why it's been fascinating watching all these Bollywood films because, they have high rise and technology like you wouldn't believe. But yet you can turn around and go to rural places where they're still going out into the woods with, a little pot of water, to use the restrooms. There's no public, toilets. It's the extremes. It's kind of the way it was when I was a kid. I grew up in rural Kansas, and my grandparents had an outhouse. By the time I came along, they had gotten indoor plumbing of sorts. But it's fascinating to me that, but if we have these conversations, then we get to learn. So reading your book was a real eye opener for me, Lovelace, and it better prepares people for travel. And I also need to learn how to lower my voice because I don't know why I talk so loud. I guess maybe years of doing theater. I don't know. But I would love to be as soft spoken as you. You have a
Well,
beautiful voice.
thank you. But people have a hard time hearing me. And even when I did a radio interview a week or so ago, by the way, I'm in a hotel room in Georgia where I'm working as a disaster worker, just for anyone who jumped on. So I lost my train of thought there, but
Well, you were just talking about the process of writing this book. And so how many years would you say it took you from start to finish?
well, I had in 2015, I had notes, research, journals, and some 20,000 photographs because I used to be
20,000.
I used to be a newspaper photographer, and I take a lot of pictures and try to find the best one and perhaps even edit that. But it was a mess, and I didn't even know how to begin to tackle all of the information, all of the stuff that I had. And then I somehow read about Scrivener, the software, which is very inexpensive, but it helped me from the very beginning start to organize the information and then see how it, things as my initial thoughts just were to write like 500-word little mini chapters, little, popcorn type snack chapters. But as I started going through everything, it just seemed to naturally gravitate into 4 acts, 4 parts, from India to Cornwall to back to India and then to Southeast Asia, because that's how it all, the adventures were great and I learned a lot, even if the boy man friend is no longer in the picture.
Well, we all have those stories. We all have those kind of stories, but it's amazing that you did this. And you were how old when you went?
When the first trip,
First time? Mhm.
I was 63.
See, that's amazing. See, I'm 66,
I am
so
no spring chicken. I think young thoughts, but my body doesn't necessarily agree with what I think.
well, I will bring in about the Oscars because the wonderful woman who starred in the movie of the year, she talked about, she said, don't ever in her acceptance speech let anybody tell you you're too old to do anything. And I think that is so important. And I think that's another message that your book is doing is have the adventures. Go. That's the only way we learn is through failures and things that don't go right. I mean, I've never gone on a trip where everything went perfectly. In fact, usually when things go rogue, that's when you have your best stories, right? I think, don't you?
Yeah, I was just trying to think back there for a minute, but when things go awry, one comment that my young Indian friend who read the story made was, it's too bad you didn't plan your travels better so that you would have had a better time. And plan travels? I'm traveling with a technologically challenged and directionally challenged man who has been to India, but had had other people kind of help shepherd him through. And I ended up like being the tour guide, but I don't know how to travel in a tour. And I only know how to travel like it's a mystery trip. Like you just, gee, that looks like a really interesting place to go. Oh my goodness, we're down in the southern tip of India. I want to go to Calcutta. I want to find out about Rabindranath Tagore. I want to see Mother Teresa's tomb, not understanding that I'm not going to fly because the Englishman is in UK speak mean, i.e. cheap. He's not going to fly. I wasn't going to take a bus. So we booked tickets on a 54-hour trip from Trivandrum to Calcutta.
54 hours. That's
Yes.
crazy. And it wasn't air conditioned.
No. Well, parts of the trip weren't. Parts of it were, but a lot of it wasn't. But that's when you kind of want to like make sure you're on the third tier of a train car that has no air conditioning. Is basically there are open compartments where there are levels of beds that fold up, things fold up to sit. So you're sleeping with amongst strangers, as it were. I kind of felt better even if I were baking on the top shelf, better being up off than down on the bottom, because sometimes, and I don't know if Andrew has even experienced this, but you can be asleep and wake up and there are 3 people sitting at the end of my bed. What the hell is going on? Well,
so that's the interesting thing, Lovelace, about India. There's just so much diversity in terms of wealth and poverty, crowd versus loneliness. You could be lonely even in a crowd because there is somebody who is so very different from you. And then, you could have so many people around you that you feel like one of them. So it's such a hugely overpopulated country, but along with so much diversity, so many transitions of the language from Hindi itself to the dialects. Mumbai Hindi is very different from Delhi Hindi. And just within that framework, there is so much difference.
And so it's
Yeah, exactly.
How every single state just about has a different language, right?
I mean, even the henna is different. I just came back from a wedding and I just got henna on my hands.
Oh my cool.
Yep. And even the henna,
Beautiful.
and even the henna, Kathy, is different from having it done in Mumbai to having it done in Delhi to Jaipur. They all have their own styles.
It's beautiful. It's really neat. I've never seen it in a band like that. It's usually more flowery, what I see.
You can have so many different ways of doing it. They just, I had an open design, so I didn't have my entire hand or my palm filled. And so I left some open space. But you could have the entire hand covered down to the bottom. It all depends on what you want. And in the Arabic countries, they have an even more different style of henna. The exact same thing, but a whole different style.
Now, the tips of the fingers are often red too. Is that a henna?
That's henna too, but you can opt to just have a design go all the way to your fingertips, or you could have a bold red color, but I just like the design to go up to the fingertips. I don't really like the bold red.
Yeah.
I think it's overkill. But again, it changes. It's the exact same henna being piped from the same cone, and yet the design and the artistic designs, which about Kathy being an artist, just differs from one place to another.
Wow.
That's the thing that took me a few weeks to understand that I was traveling from state to state, that Mumbai was in one state and Varkala, Gokarna was in another state, and Varkala, Kochi and Varkala were in Kerala. And just once I started, wrapping my head around there, it would be like driving to Atlanta from Miami, just state to state, city to city. Somehow it just, I don't know why my mind just, there's so much happening, so much stimulation everywhere. The the energy level, I mean, I just was like, I didn't slow down during the day pretty much, even in the heat. And I don't think I've ever been around that many people. And the traffic, seeing the traffic in Mumbai for the first time going, it was wonderful. It was a complete kaleidoscope.
Mhm.
And
Did
just
you see any
amazing.
accidents while you were there?
Well, actually, yes, in Varanasi, there was just a little minor accident between a
It's
tuk-tuk
amazing to me. Amazing
between
to
a
me.
tuk-tuk and a cycle rickshaw. And at least that little traffic slowdown allowed us to cross a street, which was just, I mean, it was sometimes, dodging vehicles. But I would not attempt to drive in India. It would be really nice sometime to maybe travel with someone who is your driver, who knows a little more too.
Do you drive, Anju, when you're in India? Did you hear me? Anju?
Here, so I'll be honest with you. No, I do not drive in India. I'm petrified. I was in Jaipur all of last week, and we just tell our driver, how do you even drive around here? Because, the next thing in Jaipur, you could run into a cow or a herd of cows, and they're not going to move out of the traffic. They
No.
stay through and they stay put. You have to drive around them. And all of a sudden, you could see a procession or a single elephant making its way down the road, obviously with a mahout on top. So it's not like it's a random elephant. And you have to learn to navigate with the traffic. And then you've got bicycles, you've got auto rickshaws, you've got cars. And now there's all these modern national, international vehicles that have entered the market. And they're beautiful and they're huge and they're great, but the roads are still the same size.
Oh, God.
Like big
Well, that was the most
SUVs?
exciting thing for me.
Yeah,
to
so
be on
you
buses flying around these curves and looking down, and I'm going, oh my God, if I die, or if I die, I hope we both die, but I hope you don't die and I'm still alive, because then I'll have to deal with your body. And thinking, like, will I ever make it out of this place alive?
Oh my
But
gosh.
I was having a great time while I thought I have a great time if this is my going out party.
Well, what would your advice be after people read your book? The first thing you should do if you're planning a trip to India?
Well, just understand how wonderful it is to find out how to be here now, because that was the only place I could be when I was there. No, really, I think just for people to just go in a way, understanding, as I came to understand in meeting lots of people from different cultures, countries, religions, that basically we're all one. We're all, one love, one people. And I just, I think that travel opens people's minds and hearts to a better understanding of just our lives, our worlds. My whole world opened up after India. And then after a rather exciting winter in 2016 in Northern England, I'll just say I made a real quick getaway down to Bangkok for 6 months. And because my house was rented, I was homeless at 66. That was pretty, not really homeless, but homeless.
Yeah.
Like the boll weevil looking for its home. No, I just,
Well, we need to have everybody read the book, and then we'll have to get all back together, and talk about all this and everything. So,
life is to be willing to and open to learning something new, and just, I think it became really important for me to recognize when I was shifting from traveler mode into ugly American tourist mode, which happened on occasion. I'm not mincing words. I lost my temper more in 3 months, the first time in India, than I had in a decade. But I was frustrated. with things that happened. So now, and the second time around, I had a much better understanding and acceptance of it. It was like just a little primary school, first I had to go to kindergarten, then I go to the next level, just of understanding. And I guess I don't think anyone could ever just imagine the scope of India, the art, the beauty, the incredible contrasts of in terms of, the haves and the have-nots, but also just the beauty and I don't know, the colors, the just wonderful things that were so inspired me. So I did have a hard time with super hot food. And one morning ate what I thought was going to be some tomatoes and little chunky tomatoes and something else. And I don't know what it was, but my mouth, I scalded, my vocal cords, my lips were on fire. I thought I was going to die. It was red. That should have been the warning. But that, learning was just, I think it's great to have adventures and misadventures, as you said. It makes for a good story once you've survived it and gotten past angry words and frustrations.
Well, I think when you go somewhere, you try to do everything. And I think the secret is to go one place first and kind of get your bearings and just kind of listen and learn. That's what I'm planning on doing when I go. I just want to listen and learn and just get used to that idea of where I am, and I need to learn the language better. And I know even learning the language, if you go from one part to the other, you're not even going to be able to. I've watched Shah Rukh Khan talk to other actors that are from South India, and they start exchanging, how do you say this? Neither one of them know what they're saying. And I think it'd be kind of like if somebody came to the United States and they said, I'm going to go to New York, and then I'm going to go to Eureka, Kansas. Well, my God, I mean, talk about extremes. And I used to have exchange students come and live with me from other countries and in little rural Jefferson, Texas. And they're used to cities, villages, like, I think of David, our exchange student from Germany, he loved it but at first it was like a shock, grocery stores closed, but I think that your second time was a much better experience, wasn't it? Lovelace.
In terms of, pardon?
It was a better experience the second time because.
Well, for one thing, I knew what to expect, and I knew, and I guess maybe in a sense that I had grown to grown in terms of my own acceptance of things. And, just it was difficult the first time and physically difficult for me too. But second time round, I said, no more places in a jungle with with no running water. So I just
when we're kids, like when I was a child, I was in Girl Scouts, and they prepared us by learning all these skills before we ever went camping or even had a sleepover outside. And later on, when I became a leader, I had all these girls, and I said, we're going to have a camp out. And they go, where? In the living room? I go, no, out in our woods in the backyard. And they were going, we're going to sleep outside. And so they didn't even know how to cook a hot dog on a coat hanger. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So wouldn't it be neat if we had like a travel club where you could learn about dishes and food and travel and things before you actually went? It'd be like, Girl Scouts for adults. I'd be in that travel club so much. I just want to go, well, what's it like if I went to Bangkok? What do you eat there? And so were you familiar with any of the food when you first went there, or did you recognize anything? Or
to India?
Mhm.
Or are you talking about Southeast Asia? Because
I'm talking about India or Bangkok or anything? Were you familiar with the food choices?
I could look at a picture and I wouldn't, even if the words were in English, I didn't know what it was. So I learned over time things that I really liked, and just people cook things in different ways. And I had wonderful curries and just delightful. I love finger painting with my food, with all the stuff
That's cool.
on a
Well,
banana leaf.
I like to go to the India market in Dallas and just buy stuff. I don't even know what it is and try out recipes. And I found some really neat stuff that I love, and then I found some stuff that not so much. So, at least I thought when I get there, I recognize, something that,
Oh,
but
the bread,
I'll
naan.
try it. Yeah, I'll try it.
I
And
think it's
I think
great.
it's just overwhelming of senses when you go there. The sense of the smells of you've got incense, you've got animals, you've got, all kinds of different, kind of like New Orleans. If you've ever been to New Orleans during Mardi Gras, you know what I'm talking about. There is a certain scent in the air that stays through multiple washings of my clothes. And the minute I know I'm in the quarter, I can smell it because it's a combination of so many things, but it fascinates me. And I think this book, everybody's going to really love to read it. If Meet Me in Mumbai, everybody, I'm going to open it up and see if any of you have any questions. This is the actual book cover. I love the little pink stamp. Thank you. I would love for any of you, if you have any questions or comments, to just speak up and go ahead. You can unmute.
So I
Who
have a
wants to-
question. I have a
Yeah.
question. So Lovelace, I would really like to know, based on your trip to India and your experiences, what are the top 3 takeaways that you experienced, when you returned to the US?
You mean when I literally entered the US?
Well, just generally from your experiences, once you left India,
When I came back to the US for the first
Yeah.
time, I was so excited to be able to drink the water. It's the little things. No, takeaways. I found an incredible, generous spirit among Indian people. And I'm taught, we were not traveling in like first class, second class. We were traveling like people travel, with the unair conditioned buses and on unair conditioned train cars. So I found that those who had very little seemed to have the most generous spirits. And I loved that. There's no way to convey in words the experiences and the colors that are just India. The first time when I left, I said I'd never go back. Never say never, because I think India gets in blood, and it has certainly gotten in mine, Anju. Takeaways: finding Indian literature, like the Lowlands, and the God of Small Things. Finding new authors for me along the road was wonderful, and that introduced me basically to Indian literature, to Indian writers. And then as I wanted to develop that, I had given a presentation at our library that I called a literary journey through India. But when I wanted to start my podcast, I thought, a literary journey to India just does not cut it for the title. So I said, okay, it's Bollywood&Books. That's what we're going to talk about. And then someone she said in a podcast workshop said, well, you're not talking about movies. And I thought, well, how dumb am I? How did that escape me? I worked in the film industry and I love cinema. And I thought, of course it has to be, books, cinema, and people that we meet along the way. The people, taking back the memories of people whom I got to know.
Mhm.
Being surprised in some ways when I encountered situations in which the caste system was pronounced. And that just, it's different in our country, but it's still, in a sense, there's some parallels there.
Yeah.
Oh, the biggest, greatest, fabulous, most fabulous takeaway, I think, for me was going to the Gandhi Museum in Mumbai. And so and where there are all these dioramas all around the room. And it was like the parallels between Gandhi's life and Martin Luther King's life were phenomenal. It was chilling. And I know that Gandhi had major influence on Martin Luther King. So that I just loved kind of seeing those parallels, the influence of East and West.
I have a
I want to
question.
yeah, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Lovelace, I'm curious to know how your current work in disaster relief, what impact does that have on your work now, your writing now?
Well, I've been noodling around. I mean, I'm kind of tossing up two different ideas between book number 2 or 3, but book number, I've been having all these thoughts about a fantasy, a story that I started writing probably 40 or 50 years ago. And
Oh.
the introduction I wrote, I was going to make it a children's book, and I wrote and illustrated this little book. I dreamt a word. So anyway, how this informs it is I'm thinking about the story that really is more a fantasy, not necessarily children, but and some of the things that, like T.K. Thorne had shown me pictures of her garden, and she had a little dragon in it. It was a little dragon. Her husband gave her a dragon for the garden. So I said, okay, I've got a cat in part of this book that is a shapeshifter. This cat is gonna, not only shapeshift and from a cat to dragon to cat to dragon to we're not sure what else, and it could be she, him, her, they. It just changes and becomes whatever it wants to be. So it wasn't really a funny thought. I mean, it just started striking me as funny just now. I'm sorry.
So that will be the next book, you think?
I'm not sure, because there actually is an epilogue that I have not dealt with that kind of is like the 5th part of the 4-part the book that is now 4 parts.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about writing. You can do whatever you want. And if something doesn't work, you can set it aside for a while and come back to it. And I love it. I love it. I look forward to whatever you do. So as the book is it's really going to launch. You can order it right now on Kindle, right? Correctly on Amazon?
You can pre-order right now.
Oh, you can pre-order. It's coming out actually April 1st.
I liked that date. I like to celebrate All Fools Reign.
Yeah. So we're hoping. So anyway, it's coming out. And so, and I know that through other people that are going this self-published route, it isn't as exact as the big 5 publishing houses on when books come out. I'm finding out that they say one thing and it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be then exactly, but around that date. So as we're waiting for all this and everything, hopefully that, people will watch this show on the Pulpit Queens, and then start when they get read, then maybe we can have you come back and answer some questions. Julia, do you have a question or comment for Lovelace?
I just loved hearing about the book and your travels. You're a great adventurer. You're really brave, Lovelace. I've been interviewing people who've moved different countries. I'm always intrigued by that because I never left this country. But I've traveled a lot, but not lived in other places. And I think that just broadens our horizons so much. And I may, in my old age, go live somewhere else. So maybe I'll go to India.
That's the plan. That's the plan. I'd like to live some other places. And, when you've always been, I'm kind of a wanderlust anyway, because I've lived the longest in Texas of any place I've ever lived, including even where I grew up. But I think that we all romance the idea of travel. And then when it happens, we go, whoa, this wasn't exactly what I thought was going to happen. Then when we come back home, we romance it again. We build it up to, these proportions. But 20,000, where do you store 20,000 pictures, Lovelace?
Well, on a computer that's not exactly happy right now, and back in my
I'd say you'd almost have to have a separate hard drive to put that much.
Yeah, I pulled, I've just went a little wild with the photography. A lot of it's lousy duplicates that I don't need. But what do you do with it? You comb through it. The only thing is I wish that I'd had access to the drive, because there were some photos I wanted to upload, but we had photos. So thanks, Kathy, for the opportunity to talk with, and thanks everybody for being here. It makes me feel so good. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Now I know Laura has been to India too, and has got 2 books. So Laura, do you have any comments or anything?
I just wanted to say hi, Lovelace. It's so good to see you.
It's
I'm
wonderful.
still kind of in recovery and treatment mode, so I was a little hesitant to pop in, but I couldn't miss it. I want to say, hey, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing your book, and everything's going to be great. Yeah, I'm going to be just fine. So I'm not trying to pull attention, but I can't wait to get hold of your book.
Well, I'm glad that you have certainly been on my mind too.
Thank you, and please let
And
me know.
congratulations to you too on the
Thank you
for the
Lovelace, let me know if you need anything. Okay, you've got my email.
Yes. Thank you.
Lovelace.
Yes,
Lovely. When you first set your mind to, gosh, I need to get out of this rut, from that day to the day you left for India, what was the time gap there?
Well, first of all, the coincidence, or the not coincidence, of meeting an Englishman in Fairhope, Alabama. So that was that was 2012. That was right. That was a couple of months after I had decided to just stop eating Ben and Jerry's and prepare myself for a trip on horseback to Machu Picchu. Now, I really was delusional, I've said, because I don't know why I thought I could do it, but it just seemed like such a great idea. And I wanted to, but then, like I said, the universe sent this Englishman into my life. So we were together most of the first year. Okay. And then he kind of dared me, mostly in the US, but he dared me to meet him in Mumbai. He challenged me, basically. He said, "You're not going to come." I thought about it. All right, I'll see you in 2 weeks. So
wow.
I had the
2
visa.
weeks.
I had the visa already. So, and I'd had, things, I'd been preparing to do it, even though I didn't think I would do it, because I spent, you were talking about preparations before the trip. I was looking for backpacks, and I couldn't determine when they were talking about leaders and backpacks. And I'm thinking, I got a little backpack, but I don't know from backpacks and what I ought to get. And so I would review all these backpacks. This was part of the ridiculous preparation I thought, you know what? I'm going to take my little rolling suitcase and my small backpack because that's why God made wheels, so I can just roll that thing along and I don't have to worry about a backpack wobbling. So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress here. I'm exhausted.
How'd that work for you, having the rolling bag?
How much what?
How
Work?
did it work for you? Did it work? Not taking just a backpack?
It worked. Yeah, it did. The first trip, I took very little. I thought you said, how about work? And I thought, I have an event I have to go set up in the morning, about an hour away from here. So
Okay.
work
Well,
is, I'm exhausted, but I'm
I
so,
know.
thank you so much, all of you, for showing up here. I really appreciate it.
Well, we thank you. And do we know when the next podcast will be for Bollywood and Books? Probably after you get home.
Well, I've actually got a recording. I interviewed the Indian author Jayanthi Sankar, who was editing the anthology, which is a story of mine just will appear in a couple of months. But Jayanthi, I wanted to talk with her about her writing. She really didn't start reading until I'm embarrassed that I haven't finished editing this thing, and I just haven't had time to edit. It was about an hour and 20-minute interview, and trying to edit that, looking at the transcript and stuff. Anyway, basically the podcast is on the back burner for the moment until I can finish working, because I'm ready to go home. I hope it will be next week. I'm just ready to go home and get back into my home routine, and then I don't know what else next.
Well, we hope the rest of your time goes fast and that you do get back home, and I'm looking forward to, seeing this book come out, and everybody be sure and get it. You can pre-order it. But I've read it. It's incredible. And you're in for a real treat. So any last comments from anybody before we call it a night?
Hey, hey, Lovelace. Hey, Kathy.
Hi,
Hey, y'all.
Nancy.
Hey, I'm sitting here painting while you're talking, because I can listen better that way. And I just wanted to ask Lovelace this question. I enjoyed the whole conversation, but I have a feeling maybe something's not quite finished in India. Does that mean it's going to be another book or another trip?
Probably both, but
Yeah.
the epilogue I'm viewing it as a novella. Because if I took each of the 4 parts, or each part could be a novella. So the 5th part, either it will be the epilogue, the 5th part of the story, or I don't know, Nancy, the fantasy that I from the word that I dreamt years and years ago.
We'll hope to see you back this way soon.
Thank you. I hope so too. Thank you so much for coming on. I knew you were painting. I was so happy to see that. This is very relaxing.
I don't mean to be rude. That's just how I can jump in a Zoom call sometimes.
Not rude.
I love it.
Oh,
And Nancy lives in Fairhope, Alabama too, and is with the Eastern Shore Art Center there. And I was lucky enough to do a joint collaboration with her last spring. And I need to talk to you. I just have been so overwhelmed with all the trees that I've had from the storm. But anyway, I will be calling you, Nancy, or just call me. You've got my number. Call. And I need to talk about that painting I won in the auction. So anyway, I am excited that you'll be back home soon, and we'll talk more. And I just want to let everybody know that Tuesdays now are the focus for everything to do with book club. I have one question to put out to you. We have a blog site, The Pulpwood Queen Presents Her Picks, which is where the blogs are to be posted. And then we have our official Pulpwood Queen book club page, which is where all the authors can post. Do you think I want to kind of show a vote. Do you think it'd be easier if I just had one page on Facebook? We did the blogs and everything on one page.
Yes.
Yes.
I had a hard time trying to post for some reason, I don't know if Facebook was glitchy or.
Well, the Pulpwood Queen Presents blog page has got lots of problems, and I'm thinking maybe it'd be easier just to post it on our book club page.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to streamline the Pulpwood Queens down because I'm trying to get a book done and I'm trying to get some art finished. And I just wanted to know, would you be too upset if I just made everything under that one umbrella of the official Pulpwood Queens site?
I
What
think
say
it-
you
Oh,
both?
that's
It's a great
great.
idea.
Sounds like a
Does
good
that sound, does
idea.
that make sense?
Yeah.
And then nobody will be confused on which page to go to.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds great. I agree.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's glitchy. I think there's some kind of glitch on that page.
Not on our end. It's not on our end.
No,
It's
I don't, I don't know if it was on my end or what. I got out of it and re-upped it. And I would try to go, I would cut my post and I go, and I'd paste it on there and then I'd hit, post. And then the circle thing would just sit and spin for forever.
Well, I've been having the same problem, and I've been having problems with Zoom too. So the audio is weird on Zoom. So anyway, well, I'm going to get that changed, you guys. So if the Pulpwood Queen blog page disappears, just know you only have one page to go to now. The official International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys book club page. It's where we'll post the blogs, and I'm going to get that into effect this week. So next week when we come back for a book club, just go to our official page. And all of this is always posted on the website. I put it on the calendar of events, and I also put it on the 2023 book club page. And we are just growing in leaps and bounds, you guys, with new members constantly. So I'm trying to get all the information out. And but Tuesdays will be book club day. Even if I do any of my film clubs, I'm going to be doing them more as podcasts and just posting them on the website. But if I do anything else with the Mama Cats book club, I will do it on Tuesdays during the day or the writing club. But right now I've got a lot of work to do, and I know you do too. And I know Lovelace needs to get up early to go to work. So thank you, Lovelace. You're a doll. I love you so much. And I'm so excited about your book. It's going to be amazing. And I love it. And it's going to be that size, right?
You mean if I include the photographs, the handwritten?
Yeah, that's why I was teasing you. It's going to be that thick with the 20,000 pictures in it. No, but it would be neat is if you have a website, right? Or just a podcast site?
No, I have a website.
And are the photos up on that? Some of the photos up on that from your trips?
Some of my photos, but I also use stock photography because just something that is just a better quality or more professional looking.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed your post today with all the pictures and everything. And I'm one of these people that I love to go to slideshows. Remember when people used to do that? They go on vacation that had everybody over and they'd show them the slides and people go, oh, not me. I was on the front row, man. I wanted to hear everything. So I would love to see more pictures. You can think about that, and everybody look at all the blogs she got up for today. And
they're
so
great.
they're great.
Wonderful.
They're fantastic. And then next week, it'll all just be up on the official Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys. It takes a while for Facebook to take down a page, but I'm going to make it inactive because I think it's very confusing. And we've been having so much trouble with it anyway this past year. So onward and upward, streamlining. Thank you, Lovelace Cook. Thank you, everybody, for joining this meeting. It means a lot to authors to show up to hear them talk about their books. So do likewise yourself. And you all have a great evening. And now let's get to reading.
Bye,
everybody.
Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's all about the story.
Don't let
Bye,
the
everybody.
bed bugs bite.
I love that. Bye, Nancy. Thank you. That's cute.